So here I am back at the artist studio, and I'm looking at this barn. It's a rustic old barn, and I'd like to paint a certain composition here. I'd like to zoom in and I'll show you that. Okay, so I'm going to do a vertical composition. I'm going to use this path to go into the door here. It tells a nice little story. So here we go. I'm going to start with a shadow up here in the barn and get that all covered in. I want to keep it a little bit lighter than the windows here. Windows are going to be darker, so it's something to keep in mind. I can vary my colors as I move to the side. And I bring in a darker shadow down here in the vegetation. Another shadow coming back this way. This is going to be more sap green in this area. I'm going to try and establish a dappled light here because we'll be losing it pretty soon. I'm going to keep these shadows a little bit on the bluish side. In this case I'm going to try some cobalt blue, and I can always cool it down with ultramarine blue if I need to. I'll bring that all the way out. Pretty soon the shadows are going to come this way and disappear altogether. This is a little sap green and cad yellow. I'll block this area in. I may end up overlapping the forms, and that's okay. Just as long as I get everything covered. Then I can adjust later. While we're painting in dark areas, I can mix up a little ultramarine blue with alizarin crimson, get a nice dark. And establish this doorway in here. And so I want this door to be just a little bit darker than the shadow on the side of the barn. And I'll put that spot here. So far so good. And we're going to have the same over here in the windows. So I like to try and find these relations while I have certain colors mixed up. So I'm going to put the shadow in the pathway. In the gravel, it will be kind of an ultramarine blue. And so I'll establish this. It might be a little bit lighter than the grass, so I'll add a little bit more white. You may want to use indigo for this color, being that it is a pretty nice transparent color. You know, won't get all chalky. So I want to continue these shadows across. So I will put a shadow here, continue that over. That might work back into the highlights of it. Put some dappled light into this area. Get it all covered for now. Put a little bit of indigo into the shadow here. I can show you the difference. Scumble some of that in. Kind of livens up that shadow. I'm going to mix up a little bit of a muddy color. It's going to be a little warm for the side of the barn here. It's going to be very close to the shadow, so I may end up lightening the shadow. That may need a little bit more red. Put some more red into the works. Throw that in there. Got a little bit of blue in there. That's kind of nice. I think I'll keep it. You want your colors to vary throughout the shapes. You don't want it to be all the same color all the way through. And so I welcome that. And we'll extend this over. And when I go to brush this in, I can soften that. That'll be the exciting part. I'll bring this over here. Okay, I'm going to mix up some cad yellow and a little bit of cad red light for the lights in the grass. Of course, there's a little bit of sap green. And bring some of it over here. Let's get those areas blocked in. I'm going to block in the path here. There's going to be a lot of white here, with some blue, warmed up with a little cad red light. And I might bring this shadow up in this area. And getting close to blocking it in. And let's do the door here. Now it's disappearing into the shadow. So there's very little difference between light and dark. Put that in. And let's do a little bit of light side here. It's going to be a shadow coming over here, so this is going to be light. Put a little cad yellow, white. We'll sit with that for a while. Let's bring some of this color into here. I see some of that in the highlight. That does need it. The shadow is definitely going away, so I want to get that blocked in. Okay, so now I'm ready to brush everything in. In this case, I'll start with the grass here. And I'll get that pushed up into the edges. And it's okay if I blend in to the color. It'll soften that, which is fine. I can always find the hard edges again later. So I'm gonna bring this green into this area, connect with that shadow. Bring the light of the path down this way. So these shapes will be pretty irregular. Okay, so let's... I got a little bit of blue over here. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, and that might add to the painting. Okay, you can see that the shadow has gone to the ground. You don't see any highlights on the barn anymore. So I could choose to chase the light or go back and try and paint it as if the shadow was there. I think I'm going to keep it as when the shadow was there and keep building off of that. Okay, so from what I remember of the shadow, it was still kind of muted because it was starting to turn around the corner. A little bit warm, a little bit cool, so I'm going to mix up some both blue and red. The blue is going to be an ultramarine blue. There was another shadow coming from this way. It was coming off a tree that I kind of enjoyed. Wanted to capture that. So that part's going to be pretty soft. So I'm going to blend that in. Try and make it look believable. So here's a little cad yellow and sap green. I'll throw it into here. This will be the plants along the pathway going up to the studio. Scumble those in. Put a little bluish, maybe indigo color into here. Just start using indigo again. Kind of a fun color. So right now you can kind of see a completed painting, even though it's very roughed in, very simple. So from this point, I can start working on the details. So I think I'm going to shape things up a little bit. I'm going to refine the shadow back into here. So I'll bring the light part over. And let's see. I'll soften these shadows up a little bit more. So when you're dealing with dappled light, you'll want to change color when it hits a different surface. And you definitely want to keep a consistency. Otherwise the viewer will be saying, what is that? Keep it simple. Soften this a little.
That was a neat little bird call.
It sure was. So I like how this is shaping up. Now I can go and put some lighter elements in. I can put in a little bit of dried grass in here with a palette knife. Just mixing up a little alizarin crimson, a little cad yellow light, whatever other colors that might get muddied up into it. It's okay. I can take it or leave it. And put some. There we go. And I'll bring some back into here. Brush that in. Sorry. Soften that a little. Okay, done. This is going down around there. Yeah, kind of neat texture here. Let's do some of this. See if that works. Yeah, maybe. Okay. So I'm pretty close to calling this one done. It's very simple, and I think what I would do is go and scratch in some of the details, such as the window here. I'll use a palette knife. Might be a little much. I can always push that back. I might do some of this in here. Kind of like the texture of the paint. Kind of adds a three-dimensional quality here. As you can see, as the light's glinting off the top of it, it has some highlights that are adding to the paint nicely. So, let's take a look at Chris's work. He's my student that's working with me. He's doing a paint along.